This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Gerasch and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
I am Tony Gerasch.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech.
Well, Tony, let's dive right into the weekly review. I know you guys have already talked about Crowdstrike in depth, but yesterday they released their in-depth analysis or in-depth review of what had happened. It's real technical. It's very in-depth. It's very good, but, it brings a question to me of, they made a mistake. They owned up to it. They fixed it. They did everything they could. But my question is when these kind of things happen, do you keep a company like that or what? Because they are kind of the gold standard in our industry. They're around. They're doing everything. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, the first thing I want to say is I watched the last podcast and I was saying Crowdstrike. So every time when I watched, I said Crowdstrike. I don't know how many times.
Editor's review here.
Yeah, editor's review. After I watched my own podcast, I said Crowdstrike. It's actually Crowdstrike. So I'm going to try to get it right today. But they just made a mistake, right? They pushed out bad software. Do you get rid of them for that? I don't know. Microsoft pushes out bad software all the time, right? It's something that we live with, right? So I don't think you get rid of them. I think they're going to learn from it. But I also think that they've caused lots of damage to the companies. I think they said Microsoft said it was 8.1 million endpoints that were affected by this. It's some company owners might say, we just need to replace this. We can't have this happening. But it happens, right? So it's any software. They all push out, bad software sometime or another. It just so happens that this one caused a blue screen of death, which you couldn't come out of, right? So, it caused a lot of IT guys like us to have to go in and touch every single computer to remedy the solution, right? To get people back up. And it's, but I think it's going to hurt them in the short term, but they're a good company. I think that they'll, a lot of people will still keep them.
Yeah, and bounce back a little bit.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, in their review, it was very mature, too, because they talked about what they found and what they're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen going forward. And I think that's something in our industry, too, especially for us managed service providers. We need to make sure that we're mature towards our clients because we do make mistakes, but we have to own up to them and tell them about it, not just hide it under the rug. And, Tony, I feel as a company, we kind of do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, it's, we have to own up. We have to be honest with our customers, and we have to own up to when we make mistakes. This way, it doesn't come later on to, full circle and you're sitting in a room and you're embarrassed, right? So you might as well just tell the truth from the beginning. But, it happens with us, too. We push out Windows updates, right? There's been times where, we might have pushed out a Windows update too fast that caused a lot of havoc at the customer because it was a bad Windows update. And, it affected computers and, not nearly as bad as some of this, but it happens, right? We approve the updates. If we don't wait long enough and there's a bad update, then, we push the update. It's Microsoft's fault, but, maybe we should have tested that update a little bit better before we rolled it out to everybody.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, too, because there's a lot of updates out there to test, and sometimes we do automate it, for security updates to make sure they get out. But, stuff happens, I guess, printers stop working or server might not connect. It's just, it's how you own up to it after it happens.
Yep. With bad software, it's going to happen. Everybody's human, right? That people make mistakes. It's just that this one was at the enterprise level. So, it was Crowdstrike, make sure I get it right, is an enterprise software. So it's a lot of the big companies have it. I think I read something, though, maybe you can enlighten me about an airline or something that had ThreatLocker that was...
Yes, it's
so
the one
what happened with that?
It's the one with Blue.
I didn't read that article.
I keep wanting to say Blue Origin, but I know they're the space company. I think it's JetBlue.
JetBlue, right.
So JetBlue was one of the ones that was unaffected by the CrowdStrike. They have CrowdStrike, but the update didn't go through because ThreatLocker blocked it. And you can look this one up on the internet. Danny Jenkins talks about it in a few other podcasts and news organizations that he works with. And Blue Origin, I'm not going to say was saved because the industry itself was hurt all the way around. But
JetBlue, not Blue Origin.
Yeah, see, I did it again.
Yeah,
CrowdStrike, here we go.
Yeah.
So,
CrowdStrike and Blue Origin, we got this.
We know what we're talking about, folks.
Yeah. But ThreatLocker, what's nice, what I really like about ThreatLocker, to go into that too, is that Danny is still involved. He's like one of the founders, right? I'm sure that he was right there, helping to stop this for his clients when it happened. I mean, I know I had a problem, or I was trying to do something with ThreatLocker, and maybe we'll talk about that in another podcast. But Danny actually got on the phone with me with his guys, like 6 guys, to figure out what was going on and help me solve the problem. So they're a good company, and having that application whitelisting on most of our customers is certainly a benefit.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that would be a good deep dive for us to talk a little bit more about that, because they are one of my favorite vendors that we do have. They do a lot and save a lot for our customers. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that and not to get off tangent, but I think that ThreatLocker, and Huntress are both very good products, and their owners are still involved. I mean, I wish I could say that for Datto and some of the other ones we use, but they're still involved, and they helped one company really shine and not be down, airlines. And I think I told you guys, I don't know if you guys knew, but my son's a pilot, right? And that day when that CrowdStrike hit, they couldn't put any passenger on. He left the airport with all the passengers sitting there and went back to Minneapolis, St. Paul with an empty plane and 4 flight attendants because they couldn't put anybody on there. So, I mean, I'm sure, I hate to say it, but when these things happen, like the CrowdStrike thing, it benefits other vendors. I mean, we've seen it, right, where they probably will lose some customers to like a ThreatLocker or some of the other ones that are out there.
Yeah, and I can understand if you're frustrated, you might need to jump ship and go somewhere else.
Right.
There's other vendors that can do about the same thing. So
Right.
I do understand that.
Yeah.
I do have to ask a question, though. 8.1 million Windows computers. I think you gave this stat to me before. What percentage of Windows computers was affected?
It was just under 1%, and many people, many people thought it was, people still think it's a Microsoft problem. And I have to tell them, they ask me, no, it wasn't a Microsoft problem. It was a CrowdStrike problem. They pushed out bad software that caused the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you want to go look at their technical review, you can. It talks about a lot of in-depth stuff, buffer overloads and all that fun stuff. So
yeah, and then you always get the people out on the internet too that want to, slam them for doing this and that and whatever. I read so many things that why this happened, but it's all just pretty much just garbage on the internet.
Understood. So I'm going to shift gears real quick on another one, because this was just something that happened to me the other day. And I'm not going to say the word hacked, because Tony hates it when I say that I got hacked. I didn't get hacked. I was social engineered twice.
Yes.
Nothing bad happened because I figured it out right away. So the first one was I was actually helping a client with their personal Mac computer, and I needed to call Apple support for it. And I just pulled my phone out and Googled Apple support. Right away, I took the first number and called it. The gentleman picked up like in 2 rings, and I'm just like, "Wow, Apple, you got your game on." So, so I started talking to him, and he started asking odd questions. So my first red flag was the quick pickup. The second one is he goes, "What browser did I use to find the Apple support number?" And I was like, "That's odd." Yeah. So then I start looking at my phone and looking, and then all of a sudden I just go, "This has got to be social engineering." So I just hung up on the guy. So I never gave him any information or anything like that, but it was just like so many red flags to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to all of us. I mean, we're not immune, right? We're in a hurry. You're sitting at a client's house, right? The wife, the husband, they're there, right? This was actually a home, right? This is a home user, right? So we do help our owners, right? So, some MSPs don't help our owners, but if the owners have issues, we actually help the owners. So you're sitting there, right? You're underneath the gun. You're trying to do something, get this fixed, and you click on the first thing you see because you would think that Google could pair these people out, right? But obviously, or whatever. I mean, I think the Apple is. I think I read something. It's Google. This is a search engine for them. They have some kind of, exclusive, whatever. But you click on the first thing, and then the next thing you know, you're there. But then right away, right? Why would they ask you what browser you're using?
Yeah. It is kind of crazy to think about, because I used my Apple iPhone.
Yes.
I used Safari, Apple's browser, to search for Apple support. The first thing that came up was not them. So, you know, this leads me into my second thing that I got social engineered on.
At the same customer, right?
Same customer
Yeah,
within a few
go.
hours.
Look at this. This is going to be good.
So I was actually on the line with real Apple support, and the gentleman said, hey, we need to go check on their iCloud photos to look into something. I'm like, great, let's sign into iCloud. So I typed in iCloud.com, but I missed either the I or the U or the C, something I missed. And it went to wherever, and it just, we've all seen it. It popped up on the screen, and it said, error, you've been hacked, call this. And you can't exit out of anything. You know, there's ways to do it, obviously, certain key commands and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I exited out of that. But, you know, it got me to thinking, Tony, you know, there's so many of these that pop up, and we've heard of people calling the number on there to fix their computer. And that's going to lead me into what is our tip of the week, which is going to be, go ahead, Tony.
So the tip of the week is don't ever let anybody on your computer. I mean, we have customers that pay us, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we had in the last 10 years where somebody calls us? Now they're paying us every month because we're managed services, right? Unlimited remote support, unlimited on-site support, right? They call us and they said, I got this thing that said my computer had a virus, and I called McAfee, and the next thing you know, they're on their computer for 30 minutes, and then they finally figured out, oh man, I made a mistake, and then they call us. So, the bottom line is, Microsoft is never going to tell you, right? Is Microsoft ever going to tell you, you go to a screen, oh, you got a virus? They don't do that. The same thing with the IRS. The IRS ain't going to say, hey, call us, you have a problem, or all these things. So people are just getting sucked in. So don't ever let anybody on your computer unless you're absolutely sure you know who they are.
Yeah, call your trusted provider.
Yes.
Or if you think it's McAfee that put up the alert and you have McAfee as your AV or whatever it is, look up their phone number and call them. Make sure you call the right number. Make sure you go to the right McAfee.com to get it. Don't do what I did. But, there's just so many different ways to do it. But just call someone you trust.
Yeah, don't ever let anybody on your computer. It's funny, too, that these guys can get on the computer. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been doing tech support for a long time, but usually when I try to get go to a place to get a customer get on a customer's computer that's not using RMM, it takes me 20 minutes just to get them to the right spot to figure out how to sign in. And somehow these guys do it so quick and they get sucked right in. And next thing you know, they're on there and, they're trying to, they're grabbing your passwords if they can find them, and they're grabbing your, browser history and all the other stuff. You don't even know what's going on. So.
Yep. And I'll tell you this much, Tony's not going to like this part, what I'm about to say either, but if you're having these problems, I will fix it for free for you.
Yeah.
Call me.
Absolutely.
I will get that taken off your computer so that you don't have to worry about it.
I tell people all the time, we want to stop cyber threats. I mean, if you have a cyber threat, and you need help, call us. We're not going to take advantage of the situation. We're going to help you in the best way we can. If without obviously, at some point we may have to charge you, but initially, knowing that you had a problem and scoping it out, we're going to tell you have a problem, and then we'll determine what needs to be fixed. But yeah, I agree 100%. We want to stop this.
Yeah, get them kicked out. And I think that's pretty good for us this week, Tony.
Yep. So I'd like to say thank you guys for tuning in to the Business Owners IT podcast, and hope to see you next week.
See ya.
Unique Computing Solutions. Your IT challenges solved.